Hi there. So in the last video, we covered incrementals and the full snapshot. In this video, we are going to see how can we move the disk or the snapshot, whether full or incremental, to a different region. Now, why would we want to move the disk or snapshot to a different region? So it can be because of we are planning a disaster recovery or high availability, or we want to create a VM in another region or subscription. Whatever the reason may be, I'll help you on how to do it and which process will help you to quickly move the disk or snapshot to a different region. So to start with, let's replicate a scenario wherein we will have multiple subscription. So in this case, I'll create a new subscription with the name of DR subscription and review and create. So the scenario will be we'll be creating a VM in cloud demo subscription and the region will keep, let's say, Central India, and the new subscription will keep different region and then try to move the VM disk or snapshot from cloud demos to a DR subscription. Let's go to virtual machine and create one. So we'll keep the region Central India. So all the resources like disk and NIC and everything will get created in this. Select now, I'll choose the image. I'll allow the RDP for the session. Next disk. We'll choose the standard HDD option, which is less costly. I'll not be creating a data disk. We'll just do the test scenario with the OS disk. But the data disk will work as same as which we'll do for the OS disk. Next networking. And review and create. So the VM got created and let's do the RDP into the VM. Okay, so I'll go to add PC and then the public IP and then the user account and then add, then login. So what we have here is we'll go to File Explorer and we would see we would have only OS disk. So we've got a C drive in here and we'll be creating a text file. We'll see when we move the VM disk or snapshot to a different region, we have that file or not. So let's go to Notepad. Hi, this is my source VM in Central India region. And we'll save here. So we have the file in here and now we'll take the snapshot of the disk and see all the options we get or what are the process we are going to move from one region to another. So let's head over to the portal. So in the portal, what we are going to do is go to disk. All right, so to start with, first of all, we can see the location is Central India and then we'll click on create snapshot. In the create snapshot, we have the option to change the subscription here. We can go from cloud demos to DR subscription. But you can see we do not have the option to change the region, which is grayed out, and also we do not have the option to change the snapshot type, which is incremental or full. So this is not the ideal way we would want to proceed with the snapshot creation and change the region. So we'll go back to the same subscription and then we'll give the name dr snapshot, right? And for the snapshot type, incremental and full, we have covered everything regarding the snapshot type in the last video. Please check that out if you want to get more information on this. And so now coming back in the full and incremental, you can see we do not have the option to change the region, which is grayed out in both of them. So first we will proceed with the type incremental. How can we change the region of this? And then we'll go to next storage type, which is also grayed out. We cannot change the storage type for incremental snapshot type, which is always going to be zone redundant. Next, we'll go to review and create. We'll keep everything default and then create. So the snapshot is created, and you can see snapshot type will be incremental. The location is the same, Central India, and we can access the snapshot which is available. Now to change the region, the option we have for the incremental is to go to copy snapshot. We also have the option of creating a disk, but again you can see the region will be grayed out, right? So we'll go back, and now to move the snapshot to a different subscription or different region, we'll start with changing the subscription first, which will be DR subscription, and we'll give the snapshot name DR, and we'll change the region to, let's say, West US 2, right? We'll also change the name to West US 2. Now, if we change the snapshot type from incremental to full, we can see this region is grayed out. It came back to the default one. We cannot do that with the full snapshot type. We'll again go back to incremental and change the region. And then next we'll keep the default everything and then review and create. So now what will happen is it will copy the snapshot from the central India to West US2 region, and for that it's going to take time because it's actually copying that entire data from one region to another, and larger the disk size, more time it's going to take for the copy. So it's completed. We'll click on go to resource, and in here you will see that the location has been changed to West US2. Our type is incremental, and you can see the status how much data is replicated with the completion percent 0 right here, and the snapshot access state is pending because it's getting replicated, right? So this is how we can move the snapshot from one region to another. After it has been replicated complete, we can create a disk out of it, which will see when it's replicated and create the VM out of it. So this is how we do it in the portal. For the CLI or the PowerShell process, we have a different mechanisms, and we can follow this document which I will attach in the description. You can use that to do it via PowerShell or CLI. One other thing which I found in this copy process is that it takes longer, and if there's a scenario or we are doing a DR or any other condition in which we have to make the replication as fast as possible, there is another way which we can copy the disk from one region to another, and that also with a full snapshot type, not incremental. So meanwhile it's getting replicated, let's go and explore that option. For that, first you would need to have Azure Storage Explorer app downloaded. You'll click on this download. I'll also attach the link to this in the description, and then I'll choose my PC type and then download it. I've already have this application installed. I'll show you the interface. Meanwhile, let's see how much data is replicated and click on refresh, and you can still see it's 0. So now let's head over to the Azure Storage Explorer app. So this is how the application interface looks like, and when you start you will click on sign in with Azure, and you will have a prompt to use your credentials and then sign in successfully. After the sign in you will see various subscription, you have relevant access. You will go to view Azure resources, right? And then my source VM and my disk where in central India lives is in cloud demos. I'll expand it in the cloud demos. So now the next step what we'll do is we'll go back to the VM and then go to disk, click on create snapshot, and we'll choose name as dr snapshot full. This time we are going to create a full snapshot, and we'll change to LRS and then review and create. So after the snapshot will get completed, we'll create a disk in the same subscription and the region. And after that, we'll use Storage Explorer app to move it from one region to another. So the snapshot is created. We'll click on create disk. Even if we go to copy snapshot, we'll see we do not have the option to move the region or the type. We'll go to create disk and then the disk name, disk dr full OS, and availability is on no, and then keep the default, review and create. So the disk is created. Now we'll go to resource, and you can see the region is Central India, and we created a disk out of the full snapshot. What we'll do is go back to the Storage Explorer app, And in the Storage Explorer app, if we do a refresh now, we would see we have one more disk, right, which we just created from the full snapshot. And now what we'll do is click on copy and then go to the subscription where we want to move it to. Like in this example, we'll move from the cloud demos to the DR subscription to resource group dr-rg. So once we go here, we can see in the top we have the option to paste. And the one which you already see is the incremental snapshot disk, which we created earlier. And this time we are copying the full disk. So we'll click on paste. And when we click on paste, we'll have four options. We'll change the disk name to -west us2, and we can change the location here, whatever we want resource to be. In this case, let's choose west us2, and account type will choose standard HTTP, which is less expensive, and then click on paste. So oftentimes I've seen the copy process with this application is very fast compared to incremental, and the speed goes up to around 3000 MB per second. So meanwhile it's getting copy. You can see the process has started and it's at 0%. We can see the status here. And meanwhile it's getting created. We'll go back to the portal and let's work with the incremental snapshot, which we created earlier in the West US2 region. So the snapshot which we created was snapshot dr west us2, which we can verify by checking the snapshot type, which is incremental, and the location is west us2, which is our dr region. And let's create a disk out of it. So now what we are trying to do is create a disk and create a VM. So we'll give the name os disk west us2 incremental, just to understand it better, and review and create. While the disk is getting created, let's head back to the Explorer app and let's see how much replication has been done. So you can see it's 12% completed. Also for the information, the time taken for the disk or the snapshot to move to a different region depends upon how much actually the data is inside the disk. Right, if the disk is empty, if the disk does not have much files, it is going to get replicated fast. But if the disk has files and the size of the disk is also more, it's going to take more time. Let's go back to the portal and we'll go to resource, and now let's create the VM out of the disk which we created from the incremental snapshot. So we'll quickly fill up the details. Disk VM, region is West US2. We'll click on no and we'll choose the T2SV3. Rest will keep the default, and then next networking will have the public IPs for us to have the RDP session, right? And next review and create, we'll keep everything the default, and let's quickly check if we have the same file which we created on the source VM. So meanwhile it's getting created, let's go back to the Explorer app and see how much data has been copied. And it's up to 42%. And also copy process depends upon the distance actually present between two different regions where we are replicating the data. So in this case, we can see in the data center this Microsoft 3D view. We are replicating the data from Central India here to West US2. And so you can see it's a very long distance from here to here. So that also impacts how much fast the data is going to get replicated. Now let's go back and see if the VM is created, and let's copy the public IP. Let's do the RDP. So we'll just change the IP of this, save, and then try to connect it. Let's see if we have the file. All right, so we are inside the VM. Let's go to File Explorer. So when we go back to C and then go to source VM, we have the file, and this is my source VM in Central India. So we got the our file and this test was successful. Let's sign out of this VM and let's check other disk. and let's see if our data has been replicated. So yes, so OS disk full DR has been copied to the DR region successfully. Let's create a VM out of this also. So we got the disk created here, which is successful, and west2s2 will go back to the portal and paste here. So you can see we have the disk west2s2 and it's in the west2s2 region. And let's create the VM out of this. And the disk we created was from the full snapshot. Let's create a VM and then full snap OS disk, and then no infrastructure redundancy required. And then D4SV3. We'll go to next disk. We'll click on next public IP and keep everything the default. And next review and create. And create. Alright, so the VM got created. Let's copy the public IP and again change the IP for this and then save and then connect. And let's check the file again for this VM also. So in the C drive again we have the file, right? And hi, this is my source VM in Central India. So this was a simple test for how we can move our disk or snapshot from one region to another. So we have two ways by which we can do it. One is incremental and full. For full, we have to use the Storage Explorer app, and incremental we can do it directly via portal or CLI or PowerShell. Also, we tested that whatever the data was present is there on the DR location as well. So this was a simple test on the data also, but via this way we can move our disks from one region to another. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. Thank you.